Welcome to KF&JF Podcast. I'm your host, Keith. I'm so excited you're here to join us today. And I tell you, I want to take a moment just to say to you guys, thank you. Thank you for subscribing and being a part of the KF&JF Podcast team. Today we are here in Marietta with
Dr. Dave Pommerenck, your local chiropractor.
Wow, you know what? If you had a voice like that, you'll be making millions. But the doc, tell us a little bit about what you do. Chiropractic.
Well, it's a profession that I'm very proud of, and I've been doing it for close to 35 years. Chiropractic, I've been a chiropractor I graduated in 1978, and after that I was asked to go to Italy to help upgrade chiropractic. I practiced with the top neurologists, orthopedic surgeon, medical doctors, and saw an average about 150 patients a day. Came back here and opened up an office over in the South Bay Area in Torrance, Redondo Beach, in a town called Lomita. And then I retired 5 years ago, and my wife said, "You don't look like you're happy, so what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to open up another office," and so here we are.
Wow. So what do you love about this job? What is it about being a chiropractor that drives your spirit?
That's an easy question for me to answer because I do love what I do, and it makes me very happy by taking care of all my patients. And the great thing about it is the joy is that when people come in and they have all kinds of different conditions, just like people come in with massive headaches, and I'm able to take care of them because they have a structural problem with their spine. And when we do take our x-rays, and we take x-rays on everybody, because seeing's believing, not to see is to guess, and I don't like to guess.
Right.
So we can see exactly what's going on and see if we can get them taken care of. And if we can, we start a program for them to get them on so that we can get them taken care of. Because I've seen headaches, I've seen people with numbness and tingling in their arms and their fingers, low back pain. I take care of a lot of post-surgical patients that thought that they had no other recourse. And so I'm one of the few doctors that are able to actually take care of patients like that.
Well, what's the background that you have in these different areas? Because you know, being able to read X-rays, being able to diagnose people. Talk a little bit about that educational background.
Well, most of my background after going through chiropractic college, and like I said, I was asked to go to Italy to help upgrade chiropractic. And when I was there practicing with the top neurologists, orthopedic surgeons, the great thing about it is that we looked at all the different cases that we had, which were thousands and thousands and thousands, but specifically what the problem was. So we looked to see if chiropractic care can help them, physical therapy, or if medicine could help them, or the last was surgery. So I learned an awful lot from the medical doctors there, getting the background that they had. And you're going into the hospitals, seeing the patients that were recovering that I'd sent in. And then after that, just being able to go to different lectures and be certified in, let's say, for example, trauma for automobile accidents, head injuries, concussions, sports injuries. I've taken a lot of classes in sports injuries. I specialize in shoulders, just extremities in general, as far as knees, ankles, hips. So I've done a lot of things. Plus, I've lectured throughout the United States to train other doctors also.
Wow. When I think about injuries, most of the time, sometimes it's an accident or something. Someone's driven to the chiropractor for an insurance claim or something like that. Do you work with those insurance companies, and how do you deal with those type of injuries versus a regular client that's coming through the door?
Well, basically what we look at is when somebody comes in and they have insurance, we do go through that to see if they have insurance that does cover, okay? Then we'll sit down and do a plan of action with them to see, and let them know basically what it is going to cover and not cover. The other thing is that when we're taking a patient on for, let's say, for example, an automobile accident, okay, then we work with attorneys in the area, and when we feel like we have a good case and the attorney has a good case, then we'll do it what we call on a lien basis, which means that we won't get paid until the end, so we can make sure that the patient has the best care possible and not have to worry about it so much.
Well, that's great to be able to help people that are out there that are going through these types of cases out there. What is it about, your services that people need to understand when they come in? They need to be honest. They need to be, able to tell you exactly what's going on, or do you think the x-rays eliminate all of that stuff?
I think that sometimes the patient forgets, and most of the time when I ask somebody, what is the problems that you've had, for how long, and then so I center on that to find out, what kind of trauma they've had. But most people forget about from their childhood until when they come in, that they've had bangs, bruises, they've had falls, they've had accidents. I was talking, I see a lot of people that have done gymnastics early in their life.
Right.
And I don't think there's one that hasn't landed on the back of their head and caused a whiplash injury. And it was years ago, which leads up to what you have now. So when I do the examination, I can go through it and formulate basically what's happened. And then when I take the x-rays, then it just shows proof positive, what's going on. So, and I show then we sit down and go through the x-rays in detail with the patient so they can see exactly what has transposed from the past until now.
That's important now, because I think a lot of people forget that, those injuries that you've had over the years, can make an impact on what you're feeling as you get older. What if some of the things you've learned, like is it in a mistake kind of a way, or did you, have something that happened, like you say, oh my God, I've learned from it. What are some of that, through a patient or just through your education?
Well, I try not to make too many mistakes.
But everybody does,
Yeah, it's not mistakes. I've just learned from the patients and how they are going to respond, because everybody's different. Okay, I do a good guesstimation because of my background as all these years of taking care of patients, but you just never know how somebody's going to respond. Like somebody comes in, they're hardly walking, and they're walking out the door, just feeling great with one visit. That doesn't mean that the problem's totally taken care of, but at least they get the pressure off the nerve with a chiropractic adjustment to make sure that they feel a lot better. Other people, it could take a lot longer.
Wow.
And that's what I've learned is that, I just educate the patient about, look, this is what I'm looking at, this is what I think from my vast background, but you just never know how somebody's actually going to respond. So I let them know that, hey, we're going to be going through 3 stages of care. First stage of care is called the relief phase. Usually within the first 30 days, I can see exactly how somebody's going to be responding, okay? Then we get into the second phase, which is the corrective stage, trying to correct it, because we have to adjust it on a regular basis, the spine, to get it back to where it's kind of normal, whatever normal is going to be for them. And so it starts to stay in place. And then the third stage of care is basically the wellness care, to have an adjustment periodically to keep it that way.
Yes, sir.
Just like putting braces on somebody's teeth.
Right.
When they take the braces off, they don't just say, see you later. What they give them is a retainer.
Right.
The retainer is to maintain the teeth, to keep it in place. And that's what I do also, educate the patient about what they might need for the future also.
Wow, that's so helpful to understand. I was just thinking about, the curvature of the spine and things of that nature when you see in an x-ray scoliosis or any of those things. How do you work with that as a chiropractor, even though, that's causing some discomfort for the patient? Do you work with that as well?
Well, 2 parts to that. You have to understand that a scoliosis is either you're born with it, okay, it's genetics, or it can be caused by trauma. Okay, the trauma part is when you see a scoliosis, all of a sudden, instead of just being nice and curved, all of a sudden it goes like this and shoots off to the other side, then that's basically trauma. Okay, and then trying to deal with that, and I've taken care of a lot of kids, especially, that have had scoliosis, and straighten them out. Okay.
Wow.
But it doesn't always happen, but at least you can help them. But you have to understand that scoliosis is not the cause of the pain. Okay, the cause of the pain is somebody that has a slip and a fall, bang a bruise, or lift up something heavy, or an accident, causes injury to the scoliosis, which is easier to injure, but sometimes harder to take care of, but we still can.
Well, that's great. That's great to know that you have the ability to help them just kind of regain their posture in some way, when they're working.
Right,
Now,
correct.
you're here in Marietta right now in a new office. Talk a little bit about what brought you here and how did you get to feel like this is where you wanted to be stationed at now?
That's a good question. I had an office for 33 years, and my wife wanted me to retire. We just wanted to have fun and travel, and so I did, and it was right before COVID, so nobody was doing anything anyway, so we just worked on our house. But what brought us out here, if I just tell you grandkids, would you understand?
Yeah.
So my wife said, well, we're going to move too. We're going to sell the office. And I said, okay. And I said, where do you want to go? She goes, Temecula. And I went, why?
Yeah.
As soon as I said why, I went, oh, grandkids.
Yeah.
So then we started looking out here, and we found a beautiful house out here in Marietta.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so we just started building on the house and just getting the way we wanted it to. And then I started doing vacation relief work for other doctors throughout California. So I was traveling, taking care of doctors' offices when they went on vacation, but where they having babies, they were having cancer, they're having treatment for that, they're having tumors, all kinds of weird things. And so I started doing that for a couple of years, and I didn't want to be away from home anymore. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to be looking for a place, and she goes, okay. So we found this office, and we walked through the hallway, and my wife got halfway down, and she goes, that's your new office, isn't it?
Wow.
And I said, it can be. So we negotiated and got in here, and it's just a total blessing. Ever since we've opened up this office, things have just transpired to the patients that are coming in, and the opportunities that have arisen has just been fabulous. We're just blessed.
Wow, that's something to be thankful for here too.
Very thankful.
You know what, guys? We're going to be right back with Dr. Dave, and we got a lot more to discuss. So hang on, we'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We really appreciate you staying with us. We're still here with Dr. Dave, and I want to talk to him about the relationship that he has with his beautiful wife, Deborah. Talk about it.
Well, I'm glad that you've asked, because she's the love of my life. And the extraordinary thing that's happened is that when we moved out here, one day one of my granddaughters said, Grandma, we want to make some cookies. So my wife said, okay, I got to go down to the store and get some cookie dough. She goes, oh no, we have to make it handmade. So she goes, what? She goes, all right, so they started making cookies, and all of a sudden my wife started decorating these cookies, and they just became elaborate. So she started her own business, and it's called the Sweetly Sassy Bake Shop.
Oh,
okay?
that's right, that's
so
right.
out of our house, it just turned into kind of a mess, but it was a great thing, and she just loves doing it. So she has done a lot of logo cookies for a lot of businesses and hospitals.
I saw those. It was beautiful.
So they are. So what happened is that I hated to do it, but I was just kind of like, I got to do something. So when I said, hey, look, and I said, let's talk. And so we got together and sat down and talked. And I said, look, and I said, you look at the office, you saw it. I want to move in and start opening up. And she goes, okay, I'm on board 100%.
Wow.
So I said, well, you have to understand that she managed my office for over 25 years.
Oh, really?
Before.
Okay.
So she specializes in billing and, talking to the patients about the financial part, which she tells me don't do.
Right, yeah.
So now she's just being on board more than 100%. She's just staying here, you know, at lunch times and just doing all the paperwork and make sure everything's running right. And then we're going to different events together, which she never went to an event before.
Wow.
So now she is going to a lot of different events because we're getting to know a lot of people because we belong to 2 different chambers, one for Marietta and one for, you know, the Temecula.
Right.
And it's just been a great experience just working together. Okay. I'm sure it's probably a little trying for her sometimes, you know.
See you every day?
Well, we used to have an office, a big office, bigger than this one. And she was way at the end, and I was up at the front. So every once in a while, we'd have to go back to see each other and just to say hi. But now we have an office where we're working together. In the same,
wow.
So that's
can't
different.
get rid of you now.
So we just have to, I just have to go, okay, honey.
Yeah.
So it's just a blessing having her on board, and just, she's so involved with everything. And I've just never seen her this way because I started my practice before without her. Then several years later, then we got married after we met, and she was there, but she didn't really like to be in the limelight.
Right. In the background, she wanted to be. Yes,
so she was good at that. But now, you know, she's stepping forward. She's going to a lot of events with me, or even without me.
Wow. Promoting the business.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just blown away, and I'm just really happy about it.
Yeah. Does that give you, you know, because sometimes, you know, relationships and, you know, all those young folks out there that don't really understand how partnership works, how do you, you know, deal with those times when you're not able to be together, you know? And sometimes you're at an event, she's at an event, and you guys don't see each other until you get home.
That's very rare because we're usually together most of the time. And I think the biggest thing is that we'll sit down and have a meeting. We'll talk about the things that, well, typically in our office, we would have a meeting once a week. Okay, just to look at our goals and look at where we're at, where we're going, and what we should be doing to do that. And the other thing is that, you know, at nighttime, you know, we'll be talking about it, and I just say, okay, let's just stop and pray about it. So we'll just do that, and it just kind of calms everything down, and then we just move forward.
Wow.
Lord's got his hand on this anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And you know, if you don't know, the Lord is always looking over you, and He wants you to succeed. So talk a little bit about life lessons. What are some of the life lessons that you've experienced over your career? What are some of the things you can say, oh, you know what, I learned off of that?
I've learned to be compassionate. I've learned to be a good listener. Sometimes I may not be. I want to speak because I already know basically what's going on. So I have to back off, you know, with the patients especially, and my wife especially too. So I've just learned that my wife taught me something one time. We lost a son to leukemia at 8 years old. And then being a man, you know, and I always wanted to fix it. So my family always called me Mr. Fix-It because I was trying to fix everything. One day my wife was sitting on the couch and she was having a moment, you know, missing her son. And so, and I started in, you know, said, well, let's do this. And she looked at me, she goes, I just want you to listen. I just want you to hear me. So from that point on, you know, it made me a better listener so that I could look at her and say, okay, you want me to fix something or not fix it? Can I do anything or not do anything, or just listen? A lot of times she'll just say, I just want you to listen.
Wow.
And so that's a great thing that I've learned in my life.
I think that's something for all men to really understand, is that listening is a big thing, and we should all be trying to figure out how to do that, because we do want to fix stuff, and we think that we have all the answers, but it's not quite that way. So when you think about, you know, wanting to fix everything, do you feel like that was just something how you were raised?
Yes, absolutely. And I've just learned that somebody told me one time that 90% of the problems usually just go away. Okay, the other 10%, you got to do something about it. Okay, so I don't worry about the 90% anymore as much.
Right.
I still do. It's like, oh, should I fix it or not? It's like, no, I just like, you know, just move on.
Well, you know, that's the one thing that, you know, having a partner that can kind of give you some lessons in life that you really just think that, I don't even think I even realized how much I was trying to do everything.
Correct.
So in business and your family and everything, being a fixer, talk about the legacy that you have going on. You have kids, grandkids. Talk about all of that in your life.
Well, I have gained a lot of family.
That's a good thing.
In the past 5 years, well, my youngest daughter, Crystal, she has two of our grandkids. One's 14 and one's 11, Peyton and Ella. And so when they're here, and we see them quite a bit. And then my other daughter, my oldest daughter, she has gotten married about a couple of years ago. And then she married her fiance, who had 4 kids already.
Wow,
So with our 4 grandkids and their 4 grandkids, now we have 8.
Wow, wow.
And it's just, and we get along so well, it's incredible.
That's great.
They come out, stay with us for about a week, or we'll go up there, and for graduations or birthday parties, and we just all get along really well, and just I'm looking forward to see what their futures are like, because they've come so far from going to grade school, to middle school, to high school, to colleges.
Wow.
And I'm just very proud of all of them.
That's so important. That's a big part of what we live for, is having our family as part of us and around us. Do any of them work for you? Have you had to do any chiropractic work on any of the kids or family members?
Yes.
Or stuff like that? How's that?
I've taken care of all of them.
Oh, that's
okay. So the good thing about it is that right now one of my granddaughters was hit by another student, and so she got hit and she got thrown down, and so I have to take care of her right now, and so that's just an ongoing process. My other granddaughter, she just loves coming over and getting taken care of. Wow. My other grandkids, they just want to be getting taken care of all the time whenever they're around. So it's just, I would love to see one of my grandkids be a chiropractor. Okay.
Oh, that'd be great.
But everybody is doing their own thing, so who knows, what's going to happen in the future. I like to have somebody taking over, a successful practice, and so they don't have to work so hard to start it, because as you know, it's a
passing
lot.
it along is the beautiful part.
Well, it would be, because that starting a business, and it is a business. Is not the easiest thing in the world.
You're right about that. I was just thinking about the fact that your grandpa and everybody is, and you're still working. You're not at home. You're still out and about. How does that, with your family? Do they miss you? Do you want to spend more time with them, or this is really where you find your passion is here, but they can come through the door and see you anytime?
Well, I think that it's kind of ingrained, because I had my other practice for 33 years. So everybody just knew where I was going to be.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we'd always make a point to be at our grandkids' games, or events, or whatever they were doing. It was dance. So I always make sure that I'm available.
Oh,
and I don't have much of a choice, because my wife says, "Come on, we're going."
So
I gotta appease her. So I always want to be, I want my family to know that I'm there for them at any given time, because that's what a parent should be.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Can you talk to our audience a little bit about, how they can get a hold of you? If you know your, if you have an Instagram or website, tell them and, pump yourself to the people that is out there.
Well, we have 3 different entities on social media. We do have Google, we have Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Dave at DrDaveChiropractic.com. And our phone number, if you want to call and make an appointment, which I'll tell you about a special in just a minute. The phone number is 951-984-5006. I had to think about that for a minute.
Woohoo!
Okay. So, and right now what we have going is that it gets expensive, for people to come in. So what we try to do is try to help them to get educated, and the way that we do that is we have a promotion You can come in and get your examination, x-rays, and the report of findings, where we sit down and go through your x-rays in detail and show you exactly what's going on with the problems that you're having. And normally that can be around a $475 value, but we're only charging $49. So the $49 covers the examination, x-rays, and the report of findings. So it's great just to see exactly what's going on so you can get educated, whether you get taken care of or not. At least you can see what's going on.
Oh man, that's got to be a good deal, guys. So you guys definitely got to call Dr. Dave and get in here and get your work done that you need. You know what? I'm so happy to meet you, sir. And thank you so much for coming on the KF&JF podcast. And we'll see you guys next time.